Brittany Nichole Shank was a 23-year-old from Sturgis, Michigan. She was a mother who was going back to school. On the night of November 30th, 2018, after a car accident, Brittany knocked on a local's door asking for help. She then walked away. She was never seen again. I'm Ed Denzel, and this is Unfound. As I've pointed out many times, and I think I was the first, video evidence for the most part is very overrated for disappearances. Well, with this episode, I'm about to add something else to the heap: the use of phones. Seriously, here is just a short and incomplete list of unfound disappearances of people who were within minutes of going missing, used their phones or someone else's, but still their cases are unresolved. Kevin Nguyen, Shane Fell, Deborah Bowman, Sue Swaddell, TJ Murray, Jason Landry, Jonathan Estes, Jody Husentrut. On and on and on. The list is long, trust me. And even recently, with the disappearance of Leo Wagner, a witness dialed 911, but he is still missing. Well, with Brittany Shank, we're in a situation very much like Leo's. A good Samaritan did the right thing in calling 911, yet Brittany still went missing. What happened? Yep, it's a tough call. And now a summary of the case. Brittany Shank was an outgoing girl who had many siblings. Her parents got divorced when she was very young, but Brittany managed to have relationships with both of them despite the split. Things were going smoothly, with Brittany going to school in her teens. But then the problems started. The use of marijuana progressed to harder substances. Brittany ended up having children with men who had the same problems she had. Brittany tried rehab, but it didn't stick. She had to give her children up for adoption. However, in the weeks before her disappearance, Brittany had signed up to go to college, and the bond she had created with her grandmother was stronger than ever. So, on November 30th, 2018, Brittany was over at her grandmother's where she had been living occasionally. Brittany was washing clothes, but she wasn't alone. A man in his late 20s or early 30s was with her, yet he did not speak to anyone while he was there. Brittany finished with her washing, and the two left, although the time that evening is in dispute. Not long later, Brittany appeared alone and bloodied at a man's door on Fawn River Road, claiming her boyfriend had wrecked his car. The man called 911, yet during the call, Brittany walked off. She was never seen again. The car was found, but Brittany was not, and the man with her that day has never been identified. Cars being left behind in connection to disappearances is not unusual. However, the rate at which Americans abandon their vehicles due to wrecks, etc., on a daily basis is staggering. I'll go through the stats after the interview. Contemplate why the rate is so high, while you also try to answer these three questions during the interview. Number 1. If the mystery guy or someone else was with Brittany that night, why wasn't he with her at that house? Number 2, why would Brittany be eager to call 911 then walk away in the middle of the call? And number 3, How is it possible that no one in Britney's circle is sure who the guy was, despite him having a very unique facial feature? Britney's family can't help but think foul play happened after she was seen at the 911 house. The guest for this episode is Britney's father, Greg. Unfound News. The interview I did with Jason Blair over at the Silver Linings Handbook podcast came out earlier than I thought. Part 1 is now available on that show's feed. Next, the newly designed Unfound website is now up and running. Please check it out at theunfoundpodcast.com. Finally, work continues on something new I'm bringing to the missing persons community. It will be revealed soon. I'm so happy to have on this episode of Unfound the father of Brittany Shank, Greg. Greg, welcome to Unfound.
Thank you.
Let's start here as we usually do. We got to talk about the missing person. That's why we're here tonight, very sadly. And by the way, everybody, we are doing this interview on September 7th of 2025. Let's talk about your daughter, Brittany. Tell everybody about her personality, interests, hobbies. When you think of Brittany, what do you think of?
She was my ray of sunshine. She was a very spunky, peppy, life of the party person.
I see. Did she get that from you, or is that genetic? Somebody else? Where do you think that comes from, Greg?
No, because I'm kind of more of an introvert myself. You know, I keep to myself.
Okay.
But no, she was a people person. She was a social person.
Okay. Did she show that like early on, like as a little girl, like 3, 4, 5 years old, or is that something that she grew into? What do you think?
No, she's always had an easy time at making friends. Mm-hmm. You know, she always gave anybody a chance.
Yeah.
You know, until they prove themselves, you know, otherwise, they were her friend.
Okay. Popular. So when you say this, do you mean like she was popular in school? Popular, have a lot of friends and things, or did she have like a close knit circle of friends?
Well, she was pretty popular in school. When she was done with school, she had her close knit friends.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know a lot of who they were after she was out of school, but
right. Okay. What were some of her interests and hobbies? What was she into? Music, dancing. What are the other things? Or I don't have any kids myself, so I'm fishing for topics here. What was she into? Some of the things that she liked to do. Go out in nature, hiking, biking. What were some of the things she was into?
Well, she loved going fishing with her dad.
Did she?
Okay. She liked the outdoors.
Yeah.
You know, she liked nature. She liked to color, draw, paint. Mm-hmm. She loved music.
Mm-hmm. When of course from Michigan, what kind of fishing would you do? What are we going for fishing in Michigan when you would go fishing? What are you looking for?
Bluegill, crappie, perch.
Yeah, spectacular. Okay. All right, so fantastic. So outgoing girl, likes nature. And what about work? Did she have any jobs like when she became a teenager, working like at a grocery store or anything like that? What can you say about that? Any work stuff?
Well, she never had, you know, she never had anything long term per se. Mm-hmm. I mean, she was still trying to figure out, you know, what she was gonna do.
Okay. And we have to remind everybody she was 23 at the time of her disappearance in 2018.
She had her hands full.
Excuse me. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said, and she had her hands full at 23. You know, she was already a mom of 4 kids. And
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. How did that all happen? Of course, 4 kids at 23.
Well,
It sounds
know
it's
how it
probably
happened.
unusual, but yeah, how did that all happen? Being that you were party to it.
Well, I mean, we know how it all happens.
We know the science of it, but
I don't know.
so
She was a wild child. You can tell them. I mean, she was very strong-headed, just like me, bullheaded. You tell her no, and she's going to do it anyway. So, I mean, I guess that's how she ended up with 4 at 23.
Okay. Let me just ask you, of course, these are your grandkids. How young was she for the first one?
Oh, well, let's see. I think her oldest is 12 now.
Okay.
So,
Born in
I'm not really
so she would have been like
23.
18 or something, 17, first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was young.
Okay. And what about the last one? How recently did she have her youngest one before she went missing? Just a guess. Would you think the youngest was a year old or 9 months old, or what do you think?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Her youngest is, I believe, 9 now. So.
Okay. So maybe just 1 or 2 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like 2.
Okay. All right. So she has 4 kids in the span of like 5-6 years, something like that.
Yeah, they were pretty much one right after one another.
One right after the other. Okay. And what kind of mother was she?
Well, she was a good mom. I mean, she loved her kids to death. She took care of them, but she ended up in the tangle of the drugs and everything, and
yeah. And as best as you can tell, her addiction got worse from there.
Oh yeah, it led to one thing. It led to partying. I had I thought it was just marijuana until her and her husband Eric Shank got raided by the LaGrange County cops on a meth bust.
Wow.
And then that's when I found out she was into the meth scene, and yeah, come to find out Jessica was into that too, and so.
When did that happen? Just approximately what year do you think that was? She goes missing in 2018. When do you think this bust happened?
Well, she got married in 2016. So I think it was either I believe it was the winter time. So it was either fall of that year or the beginning of 2017.
Okay. Did she have to go to jail for any of that? Did he go to jail? What?
I think she went to jail and then got bonded out. He went to jail. I can't exactly remember what happened to the kids at the time.
Okay. Well, when you would talk to her, and, what would you, like when this, for example, when this happened, did you talk to her about this? Did you two have that kind of relationship? What did she say was going through her head? Could she even say if you had, once again, if you had any relationship with her like that at the time?
She knew how disappointed I was. So, I mean, she really didn't give me a reason why or anything like that. But, I mean, I told her I disapproved.
Right.
They separated. I thought she was getting better, but she wasn't. I think, it would have been probably about, it'd have been about the same time because I had went to work for Bojan Concrete again there for a while in 2016, and she had called me, and I had to meet her up at the emergency room because she overdosed on meth. And
I see.
After that, I had taken her and I put her in a rehab, and I don't know, like a day or two later, her mother went and got her out.
All right. What year do you think that was? Once again, I realize we're going back several years, Greg. Just do the best you can. What year do you think that was?
It was like 2017.
Okay, so we're still talking about a year before she went missing.
Yep.
And I'm guessing because of all of this, that there were probably child custody issues, maybe children getting taken away or into foster care. Did that happen, or what?
Well, before all this happened, I had a conversation with Brittany, and I mean, I guess she realized that she was in pretty deep, and I think she even knew she was in trouble with somebody, but she had agreed. She had agreed to give the kids up.
Oh, she did.
Let them have a better life.
Okay.
So they already had homes before she went missing.
Wow.
But I'm new to this, but I did watch that documentary you told me about.
Yeah.
And according to what they say in the documentary, she left a encrypted message, to her kids before she left.
Mm-hmm.
Or before she ended up disappearing.
I don't know if we can go by I don't want to bring into other things. I'm just going to go by what you know, Greg, because I can't fact check what was in that documentary. I'm glad that you watched it though, but for purposes of this discussion.
Well, here's what I know is that she wanted her kids to be safe and have, a good home to grow up in.
Yeah.
So she made the arrangements for the two boys to go to one family and the two girls to go to another family.
Okay.
And that's the current situation. The two boys have been adopted by one family, and the two girls have been adopted by another.
Okay. And that's been going on since before the disappearance.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long before the disappearance did that happen?
It was like, it all started with it had to have been 2016 when that meth bust was, and that's when it all started,
Okay.
Because I think she might have ended up having to have somebody else watch her kids, and then she had visitation with them, and then that's how it ended up. Well, I know that's how it ended up. She let the girls get adopted by the one family because they were taking care of them after her meth bust.
Okay. I should ask, how are these kids doing now in 2025, Greg?
Well, I only got to see the boys one time. I believe that was in 2023 or 2022. But the girls, I get to see them regularly. They're doing great.
Wow.
The one granddaughter just had a birthday yesterday. So.
Oh, wow. All right. Coincidence. Okay.
Yeah, my birthday was Thursdays. Hers was yesterday. Brittany's sister Darian, hers was the 3rd. Wow. Victor, her brother, he just had a birthday.
You're all a bunch of Virgos.
Yeah.
A bunch of Virgos in that family. Okay. What is it about where the two boys are? You just don't have a good relationship with who's ever taken care of them, or what? If you can say.
I have no idea what happened there. Like I said, we had met both of the families. We met them one night, went bowling and everything, and I don't know. They just weren't very talkative or approachable, Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they don't want me to see them or have contact with them.
Okay. We'll move on to this. This is because this is going to get. We have to talk about this because it's going to get a little confusing for the listeners. But at the time of Brittany's disappearance, she was married still to, I guess his name is Eric.
Yes.
All right. She was still married to him, but she had a boyfriend.
I guess so.
All right. You're gonna probably have to do your best in maybe explaining that. Were Eric and Brittany on the outs? Were they going to get a divorce? Was it one of those situations? Yeah. What the way you look at it now? What is your best assessment of it?
They were done after the raid of 2016.
Okay.
They were no longer together.
Okay. And they just never went and got all the paperwork done to get divorced or what?
Right.
Okay. All right, and so they weren't living together, nothing like that. Once that happened, they went their separate ways.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So this is the situation, and this is not. Hey, I've known several people who were still married and hadn't gotten the paperwork done. It's not that unusual. It has nothing to do with disappearances or drugs or anything else. That's just sometimes the way things work out with adults. And as a person who's never been married, let's move on to this because I think this is also a very important part of this disappearance regarding this boyfriend. What did he give her? His car to drive? What was the situation between this boyfriend whose name is Sheldon and the car and Brittany? What is your understanding of Brittany's use of his car at that time in late 2018? Your best understanding.
Well, my understanding was that her boyfriend was Sheldon Ashbrook, and that the day that it happened.
Well, I just want to talk. Just in general, we'll get to the specifics. But was it common for her to drive his car? Was this the first time? Do you know anything about this as far as the regular everyday use of it? We'll get into specifics of what went on that day, but just the general use of the vehicle.
No, really, she didn't use it a whole lot. I mean, according to what I've been told, that car was Sheldon's baby, and he didn't let, just anybody touch the thing, so.
Okay. And how long, best as you can tell, how long were they a couple before she went missing in November/December of 2018? Were they a year, a month, somewhere in between?
I do not have an answer for that question.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to this. Just some things regarding Brittany for that year. First question, in your opinion, how were things going for Brittany in the second half of 2018 as far as, with everything that was going on with her, whether it had to do with her addiction, boyfriend, everything else? You told me that you helped her get re-enrolled in school or something like that. What were the things that were going on with Brittany in the fall of 2018?
Well, no, she had went and enrolled into college.
Wow.
And then, it seemed to me she was trying to get things to go good. Now, I don't know if she was trying to pull the wool over my eyes or what, because I can tell you the very last day I seen her was Thanksgiving Day of 2018.
Okay.
We met my family, and she had stayed the night with my parents out there at the farmhouse, and they brought her to dinner. We had dinner at the in-between out by Klinger Lake, and I mean, I'm a recovering addict, so I can tell when people are, using, and I don't know what it was, but she was using that day.
Okay.
So, we were happy that we were seeing each other, but yet, she knew I was disappointed, and she knew I was pissed off at her, and I kind of regret feeling that way now, but
sure.
I mean,
sure.
after the help I've had tried to give her and everything, and I thought she was doing good. And then, when I do see her, she's high. So,
right.
Yeah.
Was everything cordial at this Thanksgiving? Everything cordial?
Yeah.
It was a good time? Everybody had a good Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, all right, so, and by the way, maybe I need to ask you, before that Thanksgiving, what was the usual cycle of you seeing her or talking to her? How often, like on a weekly basis, or what?
Yeah, I'd probably talk to her on about a week to half basis. She would come down to see me probably once, twice a month.
Okay. All right, and we have to remember, you didn't live close to her. I think you told me in our prior conversation you maybe lived 50 miles away or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like 45, 50 miles from Sturgis.
Okay. All right. So that might explain, not seeing her every day, or so everybody certainly understands that. But you'd talk to her, you'd see her, maybe once every few weeks, and you two were getting along.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the living situation of Brittany at the time, let's just say for that month before she went missing? Who was she living with? Was she living with her boyfriend? We're going to get talking about her grandmother. As best as you can tell, where was she spending most of her time, where she was living?
She was either, to the best of my knowledge, she was either staying at Sheldon's, okay, or she was staying at my mom and dad's.
Okay, at her grandmother's and grandparents.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And how, in your opinion, as best you can tell, how was that working out? Did your parents, keep, kind of, be the pipeline back to you? Hey, we saw Brittany today. Was it something like that, or what?
Oh, yeah. Brittany and my mom were, they were best friends.
Were they?
They were sisters. That's. They talk at least 5-6 times a day. I mean,
wow.
That's why I couldn't believe it took my mom so long to let me know that she hadn't heard from her.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that, but they were close. They were. Oh
close. Yeah, very close.
And do you
because
think
Brittany didn't have a vehicle, and my mom wasn't working, so my mom would run Brittany wherever, Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm pretty sure my mom ran her out to Glen Oaks College to get enrolled and everything.
Okay. Your grandmother just wouldn't let her take the car?
I don't know if she ever did or not.
Okay, just wondering. All right, so we have Brittany. Sounds like she's still struggling with her addiction, but sounds like she's also trying to get on the right path. She's having a decent relationship with you. We've already talked about her, she's worried about her kids being brought up the right way. She voluntarily gives up custody of all 4 of them. She's still married, but they're not an item anymore. She has Sheldon. She's close with her grandmother. She has a, roof over her head, people looking out for her. And was she working? What was she doing for money in September, October, November of 2018?
I don't believe she was working.
Okay. What was she doing? How was she getting money? Any ideas at all?
Probably Grandma.
Grandma just giving her money. Okay. That's all right. So all right. This is what's going on in her life at the time.
I mean, that's what I'm assuming, because anytime I needed money, I asked my mom, she would let me have it. I mean, so. And she loved Brittany just like she loved me. So I'm sure if Brittany needed money, Grandma gave it to her.
Okay. And the way you understand it, that Brittany was welcome to stay at your grandparents as long as she wanted. That's how close they were.
Oh, yeah. She had a bed there.
Okay. Anybody else living there besides Brittany and her and your parents? Anybody else living under that roof?
Yeah, my younger brother, Scott.
All right, so 4 people under that roof, and everybody's getting along very well. Okay, let's move up. So those are the questions. Of course, a lot of risks here when we have a young woman, of course, with, I always worry about it. As I say, idle hands are the devil's workshop. When you got a young woman, I start worrying about young men too. No job, maybe too much time on their hands. Of course, we talked about addiction. These are things that certainly raise the risk level. But let's move up to November 30th. So you saw her on Thanksgiving. Do we know what she did in those days? And I'll have to look it up to see how many days there were between that day and November 30th. But do you know what she did, what she did those few days after Thanksgiving before the 30th? Any ideas?
I do not, because I hadn't talked to her. Yeah. And then my mom didn't call me until I think either December 7th or 8th to let me know that, hey, I haven't seen Brittany or heard from her.
Okay. All right, well, let's move up. So since then, I guess what we're saying is in almost the past 7 years, nobody's come up and told you and said, you know what, I saw Brittany on November 28th here, or I saw Brittany on November 29th there. Nothing like that.
Well, I mean, nobody's come up to me personally and said that.
Okay.
The only thing that I know that is out there is a gas receipt from the Marathon station on Fawn River Road at like 6-something p.m. that night.
On November 30th.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll certainly come back to that. But I guess what we're saying is if we're putting this timeline together, it's still very much a mystery, those few days between you seeing her at Thanksgiving and then her being at her grandmother's on the 30th.
Yep.
Okay, your grandmother, once again, and she's deceased now. I'm sorry to hear about that. But in the days after disappearance, long time, into December, your grandmother said, well, she was here a few days before that, nothing like that. I just want to, like I said, I think these things need to be very clear.
I have to make, I think we got to clarify when you're saying grandma. It would be Brittany's grandma and grandpa, but it's actually my parent.
Yes, I gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just trying to keep everything. If I could go in between mother and grandmother, it could be confusing. Brittany's grandmother, your mother, but Brittany's grandmother, that when she's never told you, oh yeah, she was at my house the 28th and 29th and 30th. Nothing like that.
No, I don't. I don't remember her ever. Or actually, I don't ever remember us actually talking whether she had been to the house after Thanksgiving Day or not. All I know is she showed up out there that Sunday to do laundry.
Okay.
But whether she had been there the couple days before, I don't know.
All right, very good. Let's just then go to that. Your understanding about Brittany's movements on the 30th, being that you just brought up these clothes and grandmothers, what is your understanding about all of that?
Well, she always done her laundry out at my parents' house, so, I mean, that wasn't nothing unusual.
Okay.
She obviously must have not been staying out there those couple days, so I'm guessing she was at Sheldon's.
Okay.
I do know from what my nephew and my mom said was that whoever was with her was rushing her around, and that she didn't even finish drying the laundry because he was rushing her around so much. She just threw the wet, damp clothes into the basket, and they took off.
All right. And we're talking about the guy that's in the description that they saw, that your grandmother saw, other people saw, and this is the guy with the sideburns.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to certainly talk about him later. So she's there. She's seemingly here with this guy with these sideburns, and like I said to everybody listening right now, we'll get to that. And then she and this guy leave.
Correct.
They leave your mother's, her grandmother's. Any ideas where they go after that? Any ideas?
They left my parents. They headed east, headed east towards Baroque and Bronson area.
Okay. Let's now go to this, probably the most significant part of this disappearance, is that at some point then that night, Brittany, by herself, goes up to a person's house. What is your understanding about what went on? What was said? And of course, this is actually, there is a 911 recording that is now public regarding all of this. What is your understanding of what went on then that night?
Well, I can remember the night. We had some freaky weather. It was
okay.
We had some freezing rain, and then we had like a freezing fog mist. So the roads were like a sheet of ice, and where they ran off the road at, it's real sharp S curves, and they ran straight off.
Okay.
Where she ran off at, I mean, there's 2 houses right there. I don't know if she ever went to the one furthest to the east.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe she tried to go to the very first farmhouse right there, but they were gone out of town, so nobody was there. I then believe, I mean, there's different theories on it.
Well, I don't want any theories. I'm just telling you what we know happened. What are the facts? If it's sparse with facts, I'm cool with that. We don't want any theories. I just want to know what happened, what we know happened.
Well, nobody really knows what happens. I mean,
right.
we know she shows up at John's house.
Yeah,
and
let's talk about that. Yeah, let's
John's
talk
house.
about that. What do you know about the 911 call?
Well, I really wish they wouldn't have redacted it so much. I don't know. I know
what did he say happened? What is the popular story? What is the story that you know about? All right, so she just shows up at this, and his name is out there, but we just know that she shows up at John's house, and what happens?
Well, she, from what I've been told, she shows up at John's. John sees the outside light come on, and I think he's like 83 years old at this time. He's thinking maybe it's one of his cats, so he got up to look, and he sees Brittany standing at the door.
Wow.
And so, he opens the door, and then that's when they make the 911 call. And in the 911 call, I mean, everybody can hear it for themselves. He said that she don't have any shoes on and no coat, that she's got blood on her feet and legs and on her arms and hands. In the 911 call, she says she needs help, but then when they try to get her name out of her, she turns around, walks out the door, and that's the last time she's ever seen.
Okay.
So that we know.
Yeah.
Now, there's rumors she went to another house.
All right, but we don't have any of that on recording, and I have heard something about she went by somebody else's house, but the parents weren't home.
I guess it is facts because the police do have a statement from them. So she was at both houses, but it's still unfactual of which one she showed up to first.
Okay, very good. Thank you for putting it that way. All right, and my understanding also is that this guy, John, he is now deceased, unfortunately, right? He's deceased now?
Yeah. Yes.
Did I read that he was so worried about her that he gave her a coat, a green coat?
Yep.
He did. Okay. And so she's standing outside, and, he's talking to 911. Please.
She actually went into his house.
Wow.
And they're on the phone because he's on his landline.
Okay.
She wasn't very far in the house, inside the doorway, out of the cold, but they're both inside the house on the phone, and they try to get her name, and she walks back out the door and never seen again.
Okay. And did she say something to John along the lines of, "We were in a car wreck, my boyfriend was driving," something like that? She in so many words, she was saying, "I wasn't driving the car, but somebody else was driving the car." Is that factual or not? Did she say something like, "I was in a car wreck, or somebody wrecked my boyfriend's car," something like that?
Yeah, think it was my boyfriend wrecked the car and took off.
Great. Okay, so just want to break this down. Thank you. I know it's very difficult, Greg. So this guy John's just minding his own business at home that night. One of those light sensor comes on. He looks out the door. There's a girl there, a young woman there. He opens it up. She's bloody, not in the best shape, but it seems like she has her mind. She's saying, yeah, I was in a car wreck. Boyfriend wrecked the car. Calls 911, and this John is a little worried about her. Said, hey, it's cold out there. Take this green coat. She takes it, tries to get more information out of her. This is all recorded on 911, like we know all 911 calls are recorded. But in the process of all of this, she just walks away while he's on the 911 call.
Yep.
Okay. As best as you can tell, how quick did it take police to get out to that site? Do we even know? Do you even know? Did it 5 minutes, a half hour, 2 days? What was it? Do we know?
It was not quick. I believe it was a few hours.
It was a few hours. Okay. Now I have to ask you, being that you've been there, how far is it in, I don't know, feet? Or maybe you want to say quarter mile, half mile. How far is it straight walking, straight distance between where the car was wrecked and John's house? How far?
I would say it's between a quarter and a half mile. It's no further than a half mile.
All right, so not far, but not close either. And if she were in her bare feet, that's a pretty long walk in your bare feet at night.
Well, yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, so this happens. And what needs to be really understood here, I think, Greg, is at that time, nobody knew who she was. She was not Brittany Shank. John didn't get her name. She didn't give her name out. Nobody knew who that girl was, that young woman was.
Right.
Okay. So what is your then understanding, being that the 911 call is made and police eventually show up, once again, your understanding as best you know. They do eventually go out there and they find Sheldon's car wrecked. Not totaled or anything, but damaged. What is done, your best understanding about this time, when that happens?
Well, I think we're going to confuse the listeners here. I think I got to back up a little bit.
Go ahead.
Okay. The car wreck. The police show up for the car wreck.
All right.
But it's my understanding that they didn't put the two and two together.
Interesting.
That Britney come up missing, and that it was tied to the car that they had towed.
Wow.
Until after we reported her missing, which was not until December, I believe, 8th.
Even so, once again, and I believe you. I'm inclined to believe you, Greg. I'm not laughing. Even though the car wreck was only a half mile away, nobody put it together that the girl or young woman, who went up and said I was in a car wreck, they never put it together with the car that was wrecked only a half mile away.
I don't think so, because it was the Michigan State Police that showed up initially and had the vehicle towed. Well, then, when we reported her, and she made the 911 call, that went to St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
So I highly doubt, State even knew about that 911 call.
Wow. Right, we have to remember this is right along the Michigan-Indiana border, correct? I mean, really, 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 really close to the border.
Right, and from my understanding, Brittany was trying to make 911 calls from her cell phone, but they kept dropping.
Okay.
So then that's when she got on the landline from John's.
Right. Okay. Wow. Did not put it together and might not have even known. So once again, we have jurisdictional issues that the 911 call goes to one jurisdiction, but it's another jurisdiction that finds the car.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Thank you for explaining that. Fantastic. All right. Let's move on to this. Now, of course, this is Sheldon's car. And certainly there's a license plate on it, which certainly could connect him to it. What is your understanding about what was done with the car, and what did he have to say about it being there? Do we know? Of course, this is still well before Britney was discovered to be missing. But what did he say at the time, December 1st, December 2nd, whenever?
Well, I could be totally wrong on this, but my understanding was, yeah, exactly. They figured out who the car was. It was registered to his aunt because he was buying the car from his aunt.
Okay.
So when they contacted her, he said, she told him, it's my nephew's car and this is where he's at,
Mm-hmm.
and they went and told him, and he went and got it out of impound. Now, I would want to know, hey, where's my girlfriend at?
I agree with you. I agree with you. But your understanding, once again, I realize you weren't there and you didn't even know this was going on. But your understanding is that Sheldon did not show any questioning into, hey, Brittany had my car. He wasn't asking where she was. Your understanding.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And also we should understand that he went and got it out of the impound lot. Was it still drivable? Do we know the condition of the vehicle?
Oh, yeah. It didn't, it wasn't a bad accident.
Okay.
I think there was a little crack down in the, like the little bug flap thing underneath the fender.
Okay.
Was like the only thing. It was just so icy that night that they couldn't back out of the ditch is what I think.
Gotcha.
I think the tires were just spinning. They couldn't go nowhere.
All right. And I will note, Greg keeps saying they. So I think what we're saying here is, Greg is very open to the idea that
he jumped out of the vehicle after they left my parents. It was two of them that left my parents.
So. Right. And we're, of course, we're going to get late. Okay, but we need to understand, though, it wasn't two people who showed up at John's house. It was just Brittany.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. All right, so Sheldon gets his car back, seemingly never asked your mother, hey, where's Brittany's? Never asked Brittany's mother, where's Brittany? Never asked you or any of Brittany's friends who he surely knew. Surely he didn't seem to be inquisitive at all as to where Brittany was, as best as you can tell.
As best as I can tell, no. As a matter of fact, from what I know, the first person he contacted was Brittany's mother, because Brittany's mother come and got everything out of the car that belonged to Brittany.
All right. But still no discussion as to where Brittany is.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And I know that you two are divorced, but did your ex-wife ever call you December 1st, December 2nd, any of that time saying, hey, I've just talked to Sheldon, and Brittany was driving Sheldon's car, and he doesn't know where Brittany was. Did any conversation like that ever happen?
I don't think so. I don't think I talked to Brittany's mom until, I found out that Brittany was missing. And so, I didn't talk to her until, December 8th.
All right. Well, let's move up to December 8th. So, Brittany, the last time we believe somebody, and, of course, John is...
On that date.
Wait, you say something, Greg? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Don't quote me on that date, because I cannot remember if it was December 7th or December 8th.
All right.
I'd have to look at the police report.
That's totally fine. I think what's most important here is that nobody knew that she was missing on, the next day or the next few days. It took a while.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about that. So who was the first person, as best as you can tell, that was like, you know what? Where's Brittany? And then the ball started to get rolling. When did that happen, and who started it?
That was my mom, and that would have been, like I said, either the 7th or the 8th.
Okay. Did she call you?
My mom called me, and then I said, yeah, that's weird. She talks to you 5 times a day, and, then I looked at her social media, because she was always on social media, and that had been dead, so yeah, that's when I called the police, and I called St. Joe County and reported her missing.
Okay. So, for example, before you did this, did you call Brittany's mother? Did you call Sheldon? Was there anybody else that you thought Brittany would have any interaction with that you thought you should call before doing this? Did you?
Oh, man. I'm sure I did. We're going on 7 years.
I know. I just have to ask these questions. If you can't remember, that's fine. If that's the answer, that's fine.
I'm sure I probably tried to call Sheldon because I know I talked to Sheldon. I just can't remember when. I'm sure I called Eric. I know I talked to him. I just can't remember, when. I talked to her mother. So yeah, I'm pretty confident. I talked to all of them before I called the police.
Okay. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is you you wouldn't want to call and report somebody missing unless you talked to several people who knew the person first, just to make sure. And what you're saying is you did make sure, and when none of these people said, hey, yeah, I've seen Brittany, is when you made the call and made it official.
Yep.
Okay. How was it finally put together between the wrecked car and this woman showing up at John's house with a 911 call? How was that finally all put together that it was actually Brittany Shank was the woman who showed up at John's house? Do you remember how that was all finally all put together?
Well, I mean, after I found out, that after my mom had told me that she hadn't talked to her, and I found out, the crash and everything had happened, and I automatically knew it was her. I mean, and when I heard the 911 call, I automatically knew it was her.
I know that you knew, but remember, we have this 911 call. We still, once again, I realize this is very technical information, but I need to make sure that everybody needs to understand this. So we have this 911 call that John makes. There's a woman at her house. How is it finally determined by authorities that was Brittany Shank? Any ideas?
No, not really. Just, off people's statements, that she was missing, and the car that they found down there and had towed, that was the vehicle that she was in, and...
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm being this is just the way I have to be for these things, because like we've established, nobody put it together that the car that was pulled out of the ditch a half mile away was connected to the woman who went up to John's house. In fact, it's two different jurisdictions. So then I'm wondering, what was it then finally they did figure out that was her?
This is what I hate, Edward. It's like I said, it's been almost 7 years.
Yeah, I know.
I just now, within the last 2 months, started getting communication from the police department. So, I was in the dark about everything. They didn't tell me nothing. They never contacted me. I'm 50 miles away from all this stuff, so I can't keep up with it. Nobody's filling me in.
Okay. I appreciate that. All right, we'll move on. Let's move on to this. Any ideas, being that we know, of course, we're believing here that Brittany was with somebody in that car. In retrospect, any idea where she and this other person could have been going, being that you know the area, I don't know the area? Any insight into where they could have been going that night, being on that road?
Headed towards, going that way and not headed back towards Sturgis. I would say they were probably headed towards Baroque or Bronson, and they were probably going to a dealer's house.
Going to a drug dealer's house.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever... All right, so that's the best guess we have. Given that she was washing clothes at your mother's, her grandmother's, and you said that she put these clothes in a basket, were those clothes ever found?
Yep.
Was that one of the items that your ex-wife took out of the car?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever personally, and I realize you've only been working, you've been getting involved in the last few months, and I know you've done some media appearances locally up there in southern Michigan. Did you ever get to speak to this 911 guy one-on-one, this guy, John? Did you ever speak to him one-on-one?
No.
No, did not. Okay. But, it seemed like he did the right thing. I mean, I'm glad that he just didn't blow her off. At least we got it on recording and everybody can hear her voice and all of that. What about searches? Once they finally figured out, hey, this young woman's still missing, and, she went to John's house and she didn't end up going home. Any searches done in that area over the past 7 years? What is your insight into the searches?
Well, right, that's a very touchy subject because that gets me really pissed off. I don't know what the standard thing is. I mean, she wasn't reported missing until the 7th or 8th, so she'd already been gone for a week.
Right.
And then the police the police didn't do any searches for 30 days. And then after, I'm not even sure exactly what the date was of their first search. But, I mean, they have done a lot of searches, a lot of dives, because, we're talking, this area is all river, lakes, marshland. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they've done a lot of dives. They've done, a lot of horseback searches. They've searched with canines. They've searched with plane. They've had drones out there. Okay. They're still, I had a meeting with them a few weeks ago, and I pointed out a couple areas that they were unaware of, and that hopefully we're going to get searched here pretty soon.
Okay. So once again, being that you know the area, would you say that this is once again, very well could be that she got in a car with somebody else, but we know searches have to be done. There's no facts to support it. They have to do searches. This area kind of tough to search then, given what you've just described, pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on to this, would you, do we have any phone records, any ping information? Do you know anything about, I understand she had 3 different phones. Do we have any information on any of them?
I don't know if I can answer this question. I mean, I have the answer, but it was in a private meeting, and I don't know if I'm supposed to release it.
Okay, then we'll just say this. So you're understanding then that authorities do have records regarding her phone or phones. That's your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I will say none of her phones are recovered.
All right, so the phones are still missing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm not here to get in the way of an investigation. We're here to help. If you think that it's private information, that's good enough for me. We will move on. But it's good that you do have information. You wouldn't be surprised how many disappearances in the last 15 years where people have phones and we don't have any information. So if they have information and they think that it's worth keeping secret, then I'm...
Well, you know what? Okay, Edward, here it is.
Please.
I'm going to tell you what they told me. Hey... Okay. They told it to me. I believe everybody should know because I want to find my daughter. So okay. In the meeting, they did tell us that because she had, to my understanding, she had 3 phones. Okay. And to my understanding, they told us that they do not have possession of any of them. Okay. They have done. They did say that she tried to call 911 with her phone. Okay. She did try to call my mother's house with her phone, but she couldn't get connected. It kept dropping. Huh. Okay. They said that they have tried to do cell tower geofencing, but the area that it was in, being on the Indiana-Michigan border and the switching of the towers, that I guess that didn't pan out. I mean, they didn't share any results. They just said they had problems with that. They did say, as far as satellite geofencing, that with the changes and everything that Google has done, that they don't have that information. And I guess Google don't have to give them the information, even if they still do have it, but.
Okay. All right, so we got some phone records, and I think it's noteworthy that she called 911 all on her own.
Yeah.
You know, as you might not be aware, Greg. Of course, there's a lot of disappearances that involve wrecks, car wrecks, or things, and these people who are in these car wrecks or abandoned cars don't call 911 at all. You know, they just take off. So. It does show that Brittany was in the right frame of mind. The car is stuck there. She's with somebody. She's calling 911. Unfortunately, the 911 call from her phone didn't go through. At least she found somebody who could call 911. Now, we've already talked about her possessions, and your understanding is that your ex-wife, her mother, went and took everything out of the car that was in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it possible that Brittany's at least 2 of her 3 phones could have been collected by your ex-wife, or any insight into that at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Possible. I mean.
Okay. Let's move on to this. The car. Please.
I know she had at least one cell phone on her when they wrecked, so.
Yeah.
Where the other 2 were, I don't know, but.
That's a lot of work carrying around 3 cell phones at one time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, I agree. I remember back when I lived in Las Vegas, I had my own personal cell phone, and for a job I had another cell phone. I was like, I got 2 cell phones. That's like one too many for me. Okay.
Well, I know the one she was trying to sell. The other one I think was broke, but she still had she still had stuff on it that she wanted. Yeah. And then the other one she was using, so.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them all.
Okay. The best as you can, and I'm guessing no forensics done on Sheldon's car?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So we don't really know if there were any signs that somebody else was in it. You know, somebody in the passenger seat, somebody in the driver's seat. No studies like that were ever done.
Right.
Okay. Regarding Sheldon, have you ever spoken to him one-on-one about any of this?
Yeah, I talked to him on the phone.
All right, what do you have to say? If you can say, what did he have to say about his car and Brittany being missing? Whether this conversation was last week, last year, what did Sheldon have to say about all this?
Well, the conversation would have been about 7 years ago, and I think it went something like where Brittany's at. No, she had my car, and then I think I talked to him another time after that, and I outright asked him, "Do you know what happened to her? Did you have anything to do with it?" I asked him and her husband both that, Eric. I had talked to them both on the phone and asked them,
Okay. And I have to ask, as best as you can tell, does Sheldon have an alibi for approximately the time that his car it wasn't necessarily wrecked, it went off the road that night? Does he have an alibi, to your knowledge? Have the police checked into that? Anything?
According to what the police told us, yes, he did.
He did. Okay. And you said you spoke to Brittany's husband. I believe his name is Eric. And what did he have to say? Were they even seeing each other? Had he even seen her around that time of November 30th, being that they weren't a couple anymore? Do you even remember?
I'm not sure, how often they seen each other or anything. I do know, after she was reported missing, he was out supposedly searching for her, but.
Okay. Let's move on to this now. This is a big part of this disappearance, and that's why I've saved it for last. And we've already discussed it, touched upon it once. It's there's a sketch out there. It's even on the Charlie Project page and elsewhere of a person I'm just calling the Sideburns guy. When did you first hear about the Sideburns guy?
When I talked to my mom right before I reported her missing.
Okay, and what did your mother say about it? Say about him?
That she was out here with some guy that she hadn't seen before, and he had mutton chops like Elvis Presley.
Huh. And so going back to that day, November 30th, the one where she was getting her clothes, washing clothes, putting them in a laundry basket, taking them, there was a guy with her, and that was the description.
Yeah, I can't remember what all, the height or anything.
That's all right. That's fine.
I just remember her distinct, standout feature of the person was the person had mutton chops like Elvis Presley.
Okay. Right, and did your mother have an occasion to talk to this person? Did this guy introduce himself? Did Brittany ever say anything about him? Anything?
Not to my knowledge.
Wow.
I mean, nothing, we never talked about it. Nothing was ever said about it.
Okay. And it should be noted, I'm not going to put this person's name on the record, but somebody else was a witness to this guy as well, correct? We're not going to get in. Let's just keep him out of this. But there was another person who you trust there who also saw this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any ideas? Has anybody in the last almost 7 years ever given you an idea of who this person could be? I'll maybe ask you this. I'll just be point blank with you. In your opinion, does this guy, the sketch of him that has been made, that's the accepted sketch, does this person look like Sheldon? Does this guy look like Sheldon to you?
Well, that's kind of a double-edged question there. Yeah, there are similarities of the sketch that remind me of Sheldon.
Uh-huh.
But there are similarities of that sketch that remind me more of somebody else that I told the police I wanted checked out, and they told me he was clear.
Okay. Now, of course, when we say mutton chop sideburns, even in 2018 fashion for men, fairly unusual. Fairly unusual, unless somebody's like an Elvis impersonator or something like this. Really not something that's really done. And here I am with my long hair talking about this, but it's fairly rare. Did Sheldon have sideburns like that at the time? Your understanding? Anybody say so? Because it's a quite distinguishing feature.
Now, I do believe I have seen a picture with him with sideburns like that. Mm-hmm. But see, the other person I'm talking about that I believe resembles the picture more would have been Sheldon's roommate.
I see. Okay. And do you know if that guy has ever been questioned? But you said that in fact, you just said he has been cleared.
I asked the police about him. Yeah. And, well, it was kind of funny because, I'm sitting in this room with the police, and I ask them about this guy, and I'm just a citizen, Yeah. And they go, "Oh no, he wouldn't do that. He's a confidential informant."
That's what the police told you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know if they ever searched, checked into it or not, because I told them that, this dude looks like the one, and I know he was in contact with Britney that day. I've seen the messages and stuff.
Okay. But Sheldon never told you that he thought his roommate was with Brittany that night, right?
No. When
think...
I asked the police about it, they said, no, he wouldn't do that. He's a confidential informant.
Like that? Okay. It's certainly not funny. But if that's the standard, in which they're going to believe and not believe guys who could or could not be connected to disappearances, that's really bad, really bad.
Yeah, go ahead and laugh, because I laughed too. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" That's just more the reason to do it. They think they can't get in trouble.
Okay. Sideburns, but nobody else has come forward to say, yeah, I know, I think it could be Sheldon's roommate. He has sideburns, because like I said,
there has been so many people come forward with so many different possibilities. I mean, yeah, it's endless. I mean,
okay, because it seems if we were just saying, it was a bald guy with a goatee and he's 5'10", then that could be anybody. There's a lot of guys that fit that description out there. But sideburns is so unique today. You'd think that the guy, of course, he could shave them off. If you thought, hey, I'm going to be identified, I got to shave these off. I guess that could have happened.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So really what we're saying is you think you have an idea who this person could be, but in your opinion, the police have not adequately followed up on this.
If we take it back to, in question of when I asked the police, well, what do you think about Sheldon? Their answer to me was his cell phone was at the house the whole time. We checked the records. And
All right, and we should be clear on something, that your mother, Brittany's grandmother, would have never seen this roommate before. If this were the roommate, your grandmother had never seen this Sheldon's roommate before. This would have been the first time she ever saw him, if it was the roommate.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, you did say earlier in this conversation that you started to do some media up there in the Sturgis, Michigan area, after a while of maybe taking some time off. What was the motivation to... because everybody should know that I found out about Brittany's disappearance through former guest of Unfound, Kelly, who was on for the Stephen Hitchcock disappearance. That's how I found out about Brittany's disappearance. But you started doing media again. Of course, it's your daughter. That's the simple answer. That's the great answer. But what was it here in 2025 that has brought you to reporters again?
Well, I done a few last year,
okay,
just to try to get her case out of St. Joe County's hands and into Michigan State Police.
Mm-hmm.
But when I found out my daughter was missing, I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know how to deal with life. I turned to a bottle of prescription pills, and that's where I've lived my life for the last 6 years. It started to do a lot of bad things to me, and I finally pulled my head out of my ass. I got sober.
Fantastic.
I'm a frequent member of AA now, a frequent member of church. I got baptized on my birthday Thursday.
Wow, just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
wow.
When I realized I had a problem, and that my problem wasn't the drinking or the pills, it was not dealing with the grief and pain and, of Britney. I was just masking it. I didn't want to think about it, so I would just get myself totally obliterated. Well, I quit, and I started focusing all my attention on Brittany now. So, I'm trying to get up to speed on, like all the questions you had, details of her case, and I'm trying to get it out to the media. And because after I got out of my shell, I already told you I'm kind of an introvert. I keep to myself. I don't go many places, but I have been getting out now and talking to people, and I have shirts I wear, of Brittany, that have her missing picture and stuff on it, and I'll get asked about it. They're like, 2018, I've never heard of this. And like I said, I only live 45, 50 miles away. You would think after 7 years people would see this on the news or something. So that's when I started contacting the news and wanting to do more interviews and stuff. And that's why when Kelly said, hey, I got this guy that wants to do this podcast, I said, yeah, I want to get the name out there.
Right. Okay, fantastic. Do you have any other upcoming local media appearances that you're going to be doing?
Yeah. Well, there's one in the works, I think, I think about the middle of October.
Okay, great.
But I am going to work on getting a hold of the Indiana news stations, because they have been running it up in Michigan, but I haven't seen anything in Indiana here. So, yeah, I'm going to try to get something set up before her anniversary date of November 30th and get it out to the public again. And
I do have to go back, maybe just ask you one more thing. Maybe kind of glossed over it. Being that Brittany was living at your mother's. Ever really, of course, like I said, I know your mother is no longer with us. I lost my mother some years ago. Ever get any explanation why she didn't realize Brittany was missing for like 8 or 9 days? Any insight into that at all?
No, just that, Brittany was Brittany, and nobody, the Sturgis ain't like a huge, Detroit or Chicago,
Right,
nobody's
sure.
expecting anything to happen, she just figured, oh, Brittany's being Brittany, off doing something.
Okay. All right. Do you have, I realize that, I'll just put it this way. I realize your ex-wife and others have taken part in some media appearances. In fact, there's a documentary that's out on YouTube that, for the purposes of this interview, I've really tried to stay away from it because I'm not sure how much in it. I'm not saying necessarily anybody is lying, but I don't know the kind of work that the filmmakers do and where they fleshed all the facts out and everything. I'm not saying anybody who took part in the documentary is lying. I don't know where the information came from, and so I have to be very careful with that, and that's why I'm just going by what Greg said. But do you have a personal page or website, anything devoted to Brittany's disappearance? If so, you can tell listeners about it right now.
I personally do not.
Okay. Maybe I should ask you this. If anybody thinks they have any information, what jurisdiction is responsible for her disappearance right now?
The overall jurisdiction of her case is St. Joseph County Police Department in Centerville, Michigan.
Okay. All right. So anybody can seek that department out if they have information, anything that they think is relevant to this disappearance. Greg, any
From what,
please.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
From what I heard, though, just this last week, the FBI is now involved. So, they could even, call the FBI.
Okay. Do you know, the public probably thinks that the FBI gets involved in a lot of disappearances. Actually, it's quite the opposite. Do you know why the FBI has chosen to get involved here?
I do not know the specifics of that. I do know that they met last week with the St. Joe County Police Department, and that they were now working with them on it.
Wow. It's fairly unusual. I would say, Greg, I've covered 375 disappearances now. I think less than 15 or fewer than 15 FBI has been involved with. That's it. It's not that common. So it's interesting that they're getting involved. Maybe there is something going on here that we don't know about. Maybe something that the police are withholding. I guess, maybe. That's always possible. Okay. FBI, do you think the FBI is going to come talk to you? You going to get an opportunity to speak with them? Have you requested to speak with them?
I have not requested to speak with them. I'll speak with anybody about it. I mean,
okay.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not sure what their plans are. I just know that, because I'm still waiting to hear back from the Sheriff Chad Spence on because he wanted to do a big, news press conference with everybody, have multiple news crews, and so that's still in the works. And like I said, I think it's going to be towards the middle or end of October.
All right, great. Greg, any final words before we complete this interview?
No, I guess if anybody knows anything, just reach out to somebody, give them the information.
Okay. Greg, thank you for being on this episode of Unfound.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that was my September 7th, 2025 interview with Greg, father of Brittany Nichole Shank. I thank him for joining me and all of you on this episode. I made a map video to explain the locations mentioned in the interview. Please find it on Unfound's YouTube channel. In the interview, you also heard about a short documentary, a little over a half hour long, concerning Brittany's disappearance. Well, it can be found on YouTube for free. Professionally, I would say that it's very well done, and it certainly covers the facts of the disappearance, and it contains the recording of the 911 call. However, I think you will also see why some items contained in it were not discussed with Greg. Frankly, at some points, the documentary just got a little bit too out there for what we do here. Then what do we do here? Well, I'll start with something I mentioned in the summary, and that is the stats regarding people walking away from vehicles in the United States due to wrecks, being out of gas, breakdowns, etc. And when I tell you this, I want you to think about all the disappearances Unfound has featured where vehicles were left behind on a road, street, highway, gravel path, median, wherever. Mara Murray, Milda McQuillan, Aidan Clune, Jason Landry. I could go on and on and on. The stat is this: 3 million cars a year in the United States are left behind by their owners/drivers. 3 million a year. That is 9,000 a day. Divided by 50, the 50 states of the Union, that is an average of 180 per day per state. However, if we were to break this down, apportioning by population, so like they do with the Electoral College for presidential elections in this country, Michigan, where Britney disappeared, has 10 million people. The U.S. has 330 million people, with 9,000 cars being abandoned per day. That means on the very same day that Britney went missing from a wrecked car, on the very same day, it happened 271 times across the state of Michigan. Seriously, it's a crazy stat. but the stats and the math are indisputable. Of course, the big difference, I don't think any of those other 271 abandoned vehicles in Michigan had people who went missing. Yet, I think what I'm also saying is that given the huge number, 271 abandoned vehicles in Michigan per day, we should not be surprised if once in a while, one of these people leaving a car behind is never seen again due to injury, foul play, or anything else. Overall, this is why for me, the disappearances I mentioned above, Marbury, etc., and including Britney's, are not all that surprising to me. And I don't think they should be that surprising to you either. Of course, it's all horrible, but it's no different than aviation. Most planes don't crash. But once in a while, yes, one falls out of the sky. And it can happen for a variety of reasons. And we shouldn't automatically view the crashes as suspicious. For Britney, could it be foul play? Yeah. Could it be she died from an injury in the woods and hasn't been found yet? Yes. But the car being abandoned should not necessarily point you in either direction because of it. As for this guy with the sideburns, I did speak with someone who saw him in the house that day. Yet the two did not exchange even one word in the 30 seconds in which they saw each other. Yes, weird, but that's what the witness said. The problem we have is that except for the sideburns, the witness who talked to me and Brittany's grandmother, who is now deceased, did not otherwise tell similar stories. Their descriptions of what the guy was wearing were different. The descriptions of the hair on the top of his head were different. The witness and the grandmother's stories regarding when Brittany and he left are different. One said about 8:30 p.m., the other said about 10 p.m. The grandmother said Brittany washed her clothes there at the house. The witness who spoke to me thought Brittany was there to get her clothes to take somewhere else to get them washed. These differences are hard to reconcile given that the grandmother and the witness were under the same roof at the same time that day with this guy. Although admittedly, I don't think the grandmother and this witness saw the guy at the same time, and they did not have any interaction with him at the same time. Like I said, Brittany's case is a tough call. If you'd like to hear and read more of my in-depth analysis into the disappearance of Brittany Shank, please go to patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, sign up, and partake in the Unfound blog. Until then, I leave the public theorizing up to you. And that's the program. I'm Ed Dunsel, and you've been listening to Unfound.